Most companies make a critical mistake when they're choosing their retreat venue. They usually pick a luxury hotels in a major city. So after planning over 1,000 retreats at Team Out, I can tell you this. The most successful team events rarely happen in downtown hotels. I'm Thomas Maziman, CEO of Team Out, and today I'll show you exactly what works. We've helped companies like Netflix, Reddit, PwC find venues that really transform team dynamics. I'll share exactly how we do it. So in the next 10 minutes, you'll learn why city location kill team connections and what to choose instead, the secret to finding venues that create natural bonding, 4 specific locations that outperform most destinations, and finally, how to evaluate venues like a professional retreat planner. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe for weekly insights on planning unforgettable corporate retreats. Let's start today with the biggest misconception about retreat venues that's costing company thousands. Here's the truth about city venues that no one talks about. When you're in the middle of a city, your team naturally splits up. So let me show you why. Last month, a tech company came to us after their NYC retreat completely failed. They spent $80K on a luxury hotel in the middle of Manhattan, but at the end of the day, the survey showed the lowest team connection score they'd ever seen. Why? Because every free moment, their team scattered across the city. Some went to famous coffee shops they wanted to see, others met friends living nearby, small groups formed their own dinner plans. This is kind of the opposite of what a retreat should be doing. So when we moved the next event, just 1 hour outside of the city in a lodge in upstate New York, something really magical happened. Without the city distractions, their team naturally gathered around the fire pits, they played games in the lounge, they had this spontaneous conversation that truly transformed their company culture. So this brings us to a first rule we have at Team Out, the 2-hour sweet spot. Your venue should be within 2 hours of a major airport for easy access, but outside of the city limits to prevent team scatter. And finally, in a location with natural gathering spaces. Okay, so location is important, but this is also half of the equation. There's another critical factor that most planners completely forget when choosing a venue, and it's costing them thousands. Okay, let's talk about the biggest misconception in venue selection, meeting spaces. Most companies obsess over having multiple formal meeting rooms, and it's been a tradition for some companies. But this is what we learned from doing 1,000 retreats. The most meaningful connections in corporate retreat don't happen in meeting rooms. They happen in what we call organic spaces. But this is where it gets interesting. Instead of focusing on formal meeting rooms, look for these 4 key spaces. Outdoor area with fire pits or lounge seating, common area with natural light, casual spaces like libraries or game rooms, and finally bar and restaurants area that can be used throughout the day. One of our clients, it's a software company, they have 100 people. They initially requested 8 breakout rooms for their retreats, and that ended up being very costly. But after advising them, they decided to use their framework and they choose a ranch-style property, and they only picked 2 meeting space, but multiple organic spaces. So the results, they save money, of course, but the interaction between team members felt much more authentic. So now that you understand the space factor, let's talk about a third element that make or break your retreat. And it's something that 90% of companies get wrong when choosing their dates. Okay, now let me share something counterintuitive about retreat locations. Most companies start by picking a destination they think it's very exciting, like Miami or LA. But after analyzing data from over 1,000 retreats, we've identified the 4 locations that consistently deliver the best team experiences. And I'll explain also why. Number 1, San Diego. It works year-round, it's easy, affordable, there are flights from everywhere, and it's usually the perfect balance for city and outdoor activities. Venues are super close to the airport, and most of them are oceanfront. Number 2, Austin. Austin is great for 8 or 9 months of the year. It's a great central location for distributed teams on New York and SF, for example. And you have unique properties like Texan Ranch within an hour of the city. The city now is also very tech-friendly, and you also have plenty of budget-friendly options. Number 3, Scottsdale. Scottsdale is perfect for the spring and the fall. Most people have not been there, so it feels like something exciting for the team and you. Usually the resorts have outstanding outdoor spaces. It's also very easy to access from Phoenix Airport, and you have so many natural gathering spaces everywhere. The last one, not obvious at all, Salt Lake City. It's a great alternative to Denver. Only 45 minutes away, you have incredible venues in the mountain. It's kind of the perfect mountain experience without the logistical nightmare of a city like Aspen, for example. It works very well for winter and summer season, even though sometimes the winter can be a bit busy and it can be hard to find availability. But let me tell you something else. This is what most people miss about weather planning. You want people to be comfortable being outside. That's super important. The rain usually affects group dynamics more than temperature. So think about that. And always have indoor-outdoor options. Finally, if this is very important for you to secure good rates, here are some tips. The perfect retreat timing comes down to 3 factors. Shoulder seasons are for better rates. Mid-seasons, you can get between 15 and 30% savings. Midweek are usually great to get better rates and availability. And finally, the most important, avoid major local events or conferences. So speaking of events, let me share a quick story why the timing is so important. Last year with a client that wanted to book a retreat during Art Basel, Miami. Guess how much the quote was? It was triple the normal rate. Which brings me to the most expensive timing mistakes we see. Let me show you what to avoid. Miami during Art Basel, triple the price, forget about it. Austin during South by Southwest, almost impossible to book. Scottsdale during spring training, so overpriced. Utah during Sundance, pretty much everything is booked. But before you lock in your destination and dates, there's one final factor that tells you whether your venue will create an unforgettable retreat or just another boring corporate event. Okay, here's something you might find surprising. Luxury hotels are often not the best choice for team retreats. It may seem counterproductive, but let me explain. I recently helped a tech startup plan their first retreat, and like many companies, they wanted to go for something very high-end. The idea was to really treat their team with something special. But luxury hotels with their grand lobbies and expensive rooms aren't built for team connection. They're usually designed for individual travelers. They're not collaborative experiences. When was the last time you saw people gathering naturally at the Ritz-Carlton, right? Probably not, probably never. So instead, the most successful team retreats we've seen are taking place in 3 types of properties: boutique hotels, lodges, and ranch-style venues. For example, we had a recent retreat we planned at the Good Time Hotel in Miami. It's a boutique property. The company saved $42,000 and they boosted their team feedback by 35%. Boutique hotels are usually a good option because they offer an intimate spaces and a consistent experiences for everyone. There's no awkward suites, there are no distractions. On the other side, lodges and ranch are also really great properties. At Sage Lodge, which is one of our property in Montana, a CEO told me that in 3 days, the team had more meaningful conversation than they had in 3 months at the office. Over there, the setting is naturally done for people to interact and bond. Now let's talk about costs. Usually, a venue under $150 a night typically means cutting corners. Anything over $500 per night likely includes amenities your team won't use. The sweet spot for retreats, what we found, is between $250 and $350 per night. It's the right price to get everything you need without overspending on unnecessary amenities. But before you choose a venue, there is one crucial question you need to ask yourself. Something even experienced planners sometimes miss. Let me show you what it is. What percentage of your business comes from corporate retreats? This single question tells you everything you need to know. If it's less than 30%, you should be careful. They may have beautiful rooms, but they won't understand the small details that makes or breaks a team retreat. So let's wrap up what we covered today. Stay within 2 hours of major airports, but away from city centers. Focus on properties with natural gathering spaces. Very important for natural connection. Book during shoulder season for better rates. And finally, remember our sweet spot pricing of $250 to $350 per night. If you found this helpful, do 2 things. First, grab our free venue evaluation checklist. It's the exact framework we use at Team Out to evaluate venues for companies like Netflix or PwC. Just click the link below in the description. Second, hit subscribe. Every week we share new insights on planning corporate retreats that strengthen team connection. See you in the next video. Bye.